one signed up for public comment, but we have some on Zoom. So you might want to ask.
Okay.
Set.
Okay. This is the March 12, 2026 meeting of the Salem Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. I'm Rick Hartwig and I am chair. We will start with seeing who's here. Okay, Alan Holland.
Here.
Chris Donaldson.
Here.
Mauricio Flores.
Here.
Zachary is not here. Sigrid.
Yes.
Delight Walker. Not here. Fraser Wick.
Here.
Okay.
Screen.
And Delight,
I'm here, yeah.
all right,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Uh-huh.
We have the approval of minutes from February 12th. I'm sure you have all looked at them. Are there any corrections, additions, deletions? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adopt.
Move to accept the minutes as printed.
Okay, second. There's a second. All in favor, say aye.
I,
Opposed? Okay. Public comment. We have a couple people on Zoom that have public comment.
No, I just checked. I don't know that they do.
Okay,
Let's see.
Looks like Nick does.
okay. All right, Nick, you're on for 3 minutes.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. Just as a quick introduction, I'm Nick Forty. I'm the Parks Chair for the West Salem Neighborhood Association, and I'd like to talk to you about two issues. One, we're pleased to see the study on the long-term needs for Wallace Marine Park, and we look forward to being engaged and included positively in that effort for the development and vision of options and ideas. Second, and we're in the early stages of this, but we're excited about the potential to work with Salem Parks and the Recreation and Advisory Board to develop ideas for public arts in the Edgewater Parkway. We think the Edgewater Parkway is truly a unique example of a park in West Salem and in Salem that offers the ability for people of all abilities and ages to positively engage. And we think this can be a showcase, not only for the Edgewater District, for West Salem, but for the city as Salem at large. And we would like to work with the board here as we develop what are now just kernels of ideas into potentials for putting public art into that parkway. So that's all the remarks I have, but happy to engage and hope we can work with you further. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nick. Questions?
well, I have a comment about that, okay? Can he hear me? Can he actually hear me? Well, Nick, I think that's great. And you may not know this, but my understanding along that Edgewater, isn't that City Hall? So that was part of the New Deal, the Works Progress Administration, right? And that's on a website called the Living New Deal. So there's a website out there. You may not know about it, or do you know about it? It's called the Living New Deal, and it has and it's open to the public. And they have put all the New Deal, the Works Progress Administration sites on it. And my understanding that City Hall, the brick building down there on Edgewater, is part of that. I don't know, I'm sure you knew that, but it's kind of neat because there's actually a legacy building there that was part of the WPA in the Great Depression. If you didn't know that already, and it's listed on that website, which is a fabulous website. It's got all these different sites in Oregon most of us don't know about, and people are adding to that website all the time, and you can learn the history of the Works Progress Administration, even in our own town. They've got some buildings listed, and one of them is the Edgewater building. Sorry, I've talked too much.
No, thank you very much. Thanks for that.
Yeah, that's great.
Anything else? All right, well, thank you, Nick. And all right.
Is there anything we need to do in order to facilitate that communication cooperation? I mean, they say they want to work with us. I'm wondering if is Delight's attendance of their meeting going to be enough to do that?
I My suggestion would be we let the West Salem Neighborhood Association engage with Jennifer Keller and Parks staff, to kind of get on the same page, flesh it out a little bit, and then we can definitely keep you updated. And if the West Salem Neighborhood Association needs to come back, they certainly can.
Okay. I think it's a wonderful idea. I want to see more art both in our parks and our community. So I'm glad to see it. Whatever we can do to encourage that, I'd like to see it happen.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right, thank you. Not seeing any other public comment. We turn it over to Rob for the park planning practice spotlight.
Yeah, and I'll try to keep it under my 15-minute allotment.
Thank you.
And this is going to be a little theoretical for maybe some people, and so I'll try my best to not keep it kind of unearthed, you know. But today I want to just talking about kind of the technical work of the park planning team as we get ready to update the park system plan. Today I want to talk about GIS and spatial analysis, and I'll try to provide just some basic understanding for everyone on what that is and how we use it. So that's the intent for today. Let's see if I can get rid of this thing. Yep, okay. So why this matters. So the city is beginning to update the system plan. A data-driven planning helps ensure that impacts are equitable, strategic, and transparent. So like data-driven decision-making is what we are striving for. And GIS has a component, helps with that tremendously. There are two key analytical tools that we're going to be talking about today. One is GIS, which stands for Geographic Information Systems, and spatial analysis, which I will walk you through what I mean by that. So these tools help us understand where parks exist, who they serve, and where gaps or pressures may exist in the park system. Over there on the side, I don't expect you to see it, it's very small, but that's a map that's in the current park system plan that identifies our neighborhood park service areas. You'll learn a little bit more about how that map was created through this presentation. So going back to what GIS is, you can think of it as it's a digital mapping tool that stores, visualizes, and analyzes location-based information. So it's not just making maps, but it is making maps as a part of it. It's about having data that's stored in the system that lets you visualize it. Maps are included in that. And then there's the analysis part, and that's what I'm going to get a little bit more into in this presentation. So it allows us to stack these layers on top of each other in a computer environment, right? So we're representing the real world in a computer. And so, you know, you can imagine stacking. So if you wanted to think about how you access a park or how people access a park, you might think, you know, one level is the street network, one level is like barriers to access, like a river or a railroad track or a major street. And then you obviously want to have your parks, your destinations in there. So if you have this data in together, you can analyze the relationships between them. And we have just some examples there. We have lots of kinds of geographic data. Anything that has a where attached to it, where it's located, can become geographic GIS data.
Did the city buy this system, GIS?
Yeah, so next slide. The city uses GIS all over. I mean, we are well invested in GIS. The city it's been decades of investment. Public Works, we use it for utilities, transportation network, and our stormwater system. So it's extensively used there. And community development, you know, zonings, all land use zones and historic districts, all the regulatory, boundaries are all in GIS. Helps them with growth management, fire and police, emergency response, looking where new fire stations are needed. That's all GIS work that's happening there. And then pretty much every department needs to understand what the city owns. And that's just basic asset management. And so that's where GIS is really important for that as well. That's not what this is about. We're going to be focusing on park stuff today. But I want to just highlight, if you go to data.cityofsalem.net, a lot of our data is public. We make an effort to be as transparent with our data as we can. And so you could find an application on that website that you could see where all the sewers are if you wanted to really know where the city's sewers are. If you wanted to see all the parks, you could find a layer about that. If you wanted to see all of the city-owned trees we've inventory, you could find that on that website. Now, how Parks uses GIS. So now we're gonna zoom in a little bit here. So within Parks and Rec, I kind of grouped it into 3 groups here. We have park assets. So park planning and park operations uses this information. What is the park system? So like the park boundaries, trails and paths, sports fields and other facilities, playgrounds, courts, amenities. We can put that information into GIS. It's not just where it is, but like what size is it? How big is it? What shape is it in? You know, we can add what we call attribute information to each item. So we are tracking what we own in this system is my point here.
Is that as detailed as identifying locations of signs? What kind of location signs are in Minto Brown Island Park, for example?
It could get there someday. We have not evolved there yet.
Okay,
So it's capable of supporting that. We are not there yet.
all right, thank you.
So then operation uses it for asset inventory and maintenance tracking, for tree natural resource management. Here is just a snapshot of the city's tree inventory. Just a little, you know, we have thousands of points, and with every point, we have photos of the tree, we have its condition information, we know a record of last time someone visited it, and staff to like do work on it. We know what species it is, we've measured its circumference.
I love
And
this.
so we have a massive data, and so all the blue little trees are existing city trees, yellow are potential spots we can plant trees, a black is a stump, so it's a tree that was and is no more. And then purple has scheduled planting. So we plan to plant a tree there. It's beyond just potential, we plan to plant a tree there. So you just get a snapshot of how this system of information management is really helpful to our work. For park planning, and this is gonna get to what we're gonna get into right now, we model park service areas, we identify access gaps, and we evaluate future park acquisition priorities. So that's really where it helps us. We're gonna talk a little bit, I'm gonna talk a little bit about how we understand who, what area or who a park is serving. That's what the rest of the presentation is about. So the most common question is, how many residents live within a walking distance of a park? So we're gonna explore that, right, a little bit. The most simplistic way we can measure that, the old school way, is called Euclidean distance, or as the crow flies. It's just a mathematical formula. What's in a half mile of a park? And it's really quick and simple, but it's not granular. So like if you were looking at the whole state of Oregon, it'd probably be a pretty good way to do it. But if you're looking at a city, it's not super helpful. It does not account for streets, barriers, rivers, and railroads. It doesn't account for a lot of the real world stuff. We don't use it in Salem. But it's really quick and easy. I created this map to show you just what it looks like in 2 minutes. It took me 2 minutes to make that map. What we do in Salem is we use what's called a network analysis. So we really look at the walking system, how you would actually walk to the park. So we use the actual street and path network, and we model real world walking routes. It's much more realistic. It counts for, we can tell it what are barriers. And so we do not count access across those barriers. And so I have a little image here, Counselor, you might recognize that from a couple of presentations you heard from me ago. But I emailed the board recently about an acquisition that the went to City Council for authorization that's in this Headwaters subdivision. And first thing I want to show you is this is Commercial Street. We're in the South Gateway Neighborhood Association. We have some neighborhood park service areas on the west side of Commercial Street that do not cross, because Commercial Street is considered a barrier to park access because it's such a busy street. That's in our current system plan. We've decided that is the case. And then across here, we have West Bennett Park, which is serving a nice area. And then we also have Woodscape Linear Park, which really just functions to make this park, to get more residents to this park. So if you live on the east side of Battle Creek, this crossing improvement and this park lets you have a nice walking route to the neighborhood park. So that linear park is expanding the service area for West Bennett Park. And now you can see, as we use a network analysis approach, you can actually see that represented here. Let's compare the two. So again, more fine grained. So this kind of suggests, well, maybe we don't have much gap in this north downtown area. But if you really dial in, you think about barriers like Market Street, you can see, wow, we actually have some big pockets of unserved neighborhoods in this area of the city. And so just how, when you compare these methods, you get a little bit better results. So these are the tools we have, and I just want you to build some understanding as you see us start presenting you maps in a few months. You can maybe understand the information a little bit better or a little quicker. So feel free to ask me questions. I have one more thing to show you though. Spatial analysis can also help us understand park congestion. So like you can think about crowding, like a park that is, serving so many people that maybe we should flag it, we should be paying attention to it. So this allows us to do that too. There's something called Bayesian polygons, which is a fancy term. It just means we make service territories for every park. And they're all balanced by what's the closest park to wherever you are in the city. So that's why you get this fun honeycomb kind of pattern looking thing over here. And so this helps us just really see how large a graphic area is, see which parks have the highest demand, or at least estimate it. We get a sense. It's not like, it's all estimation. We're like doing social science research here, but it gives us a good idea where additional park capacity may be needed. So again, helps us with that. And then I have an example for this one too. So on this exercise I did a few years ago, you see the every park's service district is colored a different color. It's just broke 66 parks into 3 categories. So they're evenly distributed. So the point there is just to see like which park has the highest amount of people relying on it. What's really cool about GIS is there's all this data. We can make a histogram and we can like do statistical analysis. We can like really look at it. And then we can see, wow, our population being served by parks districts is a relatively normal curve, but we generally had an outlier. Like that's like textbook in statistics, that's an outlier. And so that outlier happens to be the area that Bill Regal Park is serving. So it has this large service area, and there are about 8,000 residents in this area as an estimate, right? And so that is, when I saw that, I was like, wow, that's really good. We were already planning to complete development of the park at that time, and we have completed development of that park. And one of our most recent park acquisitions is just in this north area of the district. And so kind of, to me, I wish we had a system plan that kind of had this level of technicalness to it, but at least as we entered this process, I said, well, that was kind of reassuring. We're purchasing park in this area and we're improving parks in this area. That is the right thing to do because we have to serve these people who are really desperate on not enough parks. I'm going to end just by saying this is really important as we want to evolve, we want to innovate, we want to take this mapping as far as it is useful. So as far as we can take it and it's continuing useful, we want to evolve our use of it. And so for that reason, we asked college students to take a close look at this. Like what's the best? So through this partnership we had a few years ago with the University of Oregon, we asked a landscape architectural spatial justice seminar to examine this idea of how you draw or model park service areas and how we can do it better to reflect equity and accessibility. And they prepared the whole report, which we can share with you. But it gives Ray and I a lot to think about as we want to try to innovate in the use of this technology in our park system. And it's just like, I'm grateful we did this because they had 10 weeks and 20 people's brilliant minds to really think about this. So it gives us a lot to chew on. And so that's where we are today. That's what this is. And if there's any quick questions, I don't want to take too much of the agenda, but that is how we do spatial analysis. And that's a little bit what GIS is.
Can we access that report?
It is on the University of Oregon's library webpage, but we can just send you a link.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So is the intent just to kind of like look at the data that we have available at the city, or is it to at some point like do like an AGUL, like public facing online map so that folks can kind of look at the parks in like a different capacity?
Yeah, we want to get there. So this is that's where we want to get. We want to get to a public facing map where the methods are extremely clear. And it's, even though there's like a workflow where it's an evolving map, so it's always relevant. That's where I think we want to get. What we have today is this map, which we could share with you too, but it's static, it doesn't change, right? And it's also, it was really visionary when they did it in 2013. They were really pushing it. The city, I'm surprised the city was able to do this, but they barely did it. We don't know how they did it. Their methods weren't well documented. I can't reproduce that map. If you really squint and you look at West Salem, you see some things that are clearly wrong. It's just not right. And so we want to, this is where we are today.
Okay.
And we wanna get to that there through this
Your
process.
interactive spatial online component that folks can zoom in,
Mhm.
turn things on, look at different features. Okay,
The
cool.
city has all the infrastructure to support that already. We just gotta get the data and make it, get it out there through this process.
Great idea.
I love it. I think it's fascinating. I'm fascinated about that. How you explained there was a hole in an area where the fairgrounds were that you didn't know was served.
Yeah, I mean, we've all,
So interesting because, yeah.
We've known that Northeast is underserved anyway. This kind of
No, but
document.
it's kind of, yeah, the way it, now I still feel like we're very park rich. I mean, we have to, as a city, I think we're park rich. That's my opinion, just because.
Yeah,
It
and it
seems
is,
like there is a park in almost every neighborhood, but this is fascinating.
yeah, and it is to that point, yeah, what questions you ask of the data, because I live in the underserved area and I think of Inglewood as like my local park and yeah, the rapid flashing beacon and like the busyness on Market, it's the least fun part of the walk, but it's not that far. So it's that like there's the ability to go to that park, but I know for some folks that is Market Street's a turn off. That's a no-go for some folks. But you could query the information differently and suddenly that park is in play for that neighborhood.
that's right, if we just, the inputs, right, so if we say that, no longer consider Market Street a barrier.
Yeah.
Don't consider, formula, don't think of it as a barrier anymore, it would give us a very different result.
Yeah, I mean, like the one on the left.
Yeah.
And that's clearly, walking distance is 10 minutes.
Is it relevant to ask what the status of that walking pedestrian overpass on 22 in the south neighborhood would be?
Yeah, we can talk about that. I have to say, we just formally kicked that project off. So we haven't had any internal meetings about it, but the transportation staff has executed a grant agreement, and so it's funded, and I think there's a consultant on board. I see a head shake in the back, and so there's gonna be staff meetings with the consultant very soon, and we're gonna get going.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that update.
Yeah.
And also we talked about this the other day, where the old mushroom factory was in Cordon and State. I went and looked at that property and, you could be some nice walking paths for minimal cost. But it would probably be wise to put some type of a fence up along Cordon Road there,
Okay, yeah,
which wouldn't cost that much.
yeah, well,
And then you have some paths to walk on in there, but while we're awaiting development of a real park.
yeah, well, that, our pre-development work of that park is coming to Spratt next month, so we'll have some focused time to talk about that.
Yeah, because it's an incredible development area out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing to me how, I know that housing is needed, but this is a lot of housing. And if it's full right away, then we know we really had a problem.
Yeah, I'll use some aerial imagery to show everyone kind of what has happened in 3 years out there.
Oh, it's incredible.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, are we ready to move on? Pringle Path Project Consultation, Brian Banta.
And I'll get your slides pulled up.
Thank you.
Last night.
Well, some handouts here. First one here is a project fact sheet. Easy access. I have copies of the PowerPoint presentation. And I also have copies of the design terms to be sure.
adjust this Rob just second. See both there, or not there.
It was, let me just. Yep, you're fine. Yep, yeah. One line can still see you.
Perfect. All right, well, good afternoon. I'm Brian Vance. I'm the project manager with the city for the Pringle Creek Path Connection Project. So today, I'll be talking about giving a little bit of a informational update on the project and where we're at. And then kind of the focus point will be the design alternatives. We're right at the point where I can share. We've teamed up with three path consultants and we've developed two alternatives that I'll be sharing with you all. And I would love to have some of your feedback on, you know, some of the features and what you think about it as we move ahead. So, Rod, you go ahead and hit the next one there. And we can move past that. So, just to kind of start off, I mean, I guess first off, is there anybody here that's not real familiar with the project, in general, or is everybody fairly familiar with it? Because if I assume that nobody here knows anything about it, I'll go into a little bit more detail, but just in general, you can see the location map there, kind of a high level. You can see up there to the left is the Riverfront Park. And then you have Pringle Creek and then Commercial Street right there. So the red line represents the limits of this project. So we're going to be constructing a 12-foot wide multi-use path that will be connecting the Civic Center, at least locally, Civic Center to the Riverfront Park. And you can kind of see where it'll go underneath Commercial Street Bridge and it'll eventually tie into the right next to the Eco Earth ball there in the park. The blue lines represent existing paths. So, I mean, this project is pretty important because it kind of fills that critical link in the path system between what's existing. All that path to the east would be connecting to the Willamette University and you know, Bush Park and you know, all along Pringle Creek. And then ultimately it'll tie into that system where you can potentially walk or ride all the way out to Minto Brown Park. You could also head to the north and cross over at Union Street Bridge, the Ped Bridge there, and ultimately end up out at Marine Walls Park, or Walls Marine Park out to the west. So it kind of fulfills that kind of a regional, you know, regional path that's going to connect both sides of the river. You know, so it's a significant project. So it's exciting. So you can go ahead and hop to the next one. So this project's been a long time coming. The Boise Cascade, if you look at the left here, the Boise Cascade structure was, I guess, decommissioned about 15 years ago. And so, you know, there's been a planning process since that time trying to, you know, come up with some type of concept here. But in 2019, we broke ground and demolished that structure. As you can see to the left, you can see it exists there. Basically demolished the structure, widened the path or the stream, and then regraded right along that north bank in preparation for this project. We go ahead and there we go. So like I said, project's been in the works quite a while. Over 15 years. It's been a part of the Salem Transportation System Plan. It's been a part of the Riverfront Parks Master Plan. And so as part of those plans and trying to get funding, they hired a consultant at the time, Greenworks, to kind of present or prepare this general concept plan. So this is where we started. And you know, we've taken this and we've kind of, you know, progressed that to the alternatives that I'll be showing you here shortly. But just in general, you can kind of see there's a little bit of a line here, but the idea is there's going to be a suspended bridge underneath Commercial Street Bridge, kind of on the underside of that. It'll connect to, there's an existing multi-use path in this area. Building all new pathway through there. It's going to go underneath the railroad. Allowed to put some type of structure underneath the railroad for fall protection purposes. And then it'll continue on. And then, like I said earlier, it'll tie into that fall area. It has the primary features here are different trail treatments. There'll be overlooks. In this case, it's showing an overlook right there. opportunities for seawalls, wall treatments, various types of landscaping. So. And then if you go to the next slide, it provides a kind of a 3D rendering of that. So I'm kind of showing that as just that's where we started from. And then we can move into, let me hit the schedule.
Okay, sorry.
No, you're good.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah, forget it. So the schedule, right now, we're in the preliminary design phase, right here at the 30% concept plans point. And so that's gonna take us from last September, and it's gonna be ending in July. And so right now, we're in that phase where we're trying to nail down this alternative, which one we want to, we're come down to a preferred alternative. And the plan is, we're gonna have a survey here in a couple of weeks, presenting the same information I'm gonna be sharing with you guys today. Hoping to get public feedback, which will help us kind of refine what we want to do. And so that'll take us up through an open house. Again, it's going to be the presenting of these two options. And then we're going to take all that data, compile it, and then we'll kind of move ahead from the 30% plan mark to the 60, which will be the preferred alternative, and start getting into a little bit more refined design. And then the plan is to have another open house around the 60% plans mark, where you can kind of see the final product of what we're going to be moving ahead with. And then final design, August to May 27. And then construction is planned to start in October 27, and it should be a 1-season process if everything goes correctly. You go ahead and move on to the next one. So funding overview, there's 3 primary funding sources for this project. The big one from the city is the 2022 Safety and Livability Bond, which is $3.5 million. Urban Renewal Agency has kicked in $420,000. And then we were able to get, from ODOT, through the Oregon Community Paths Grant Program, we were able to get $6 million. So for a grand total of $9.9 million. And right now, we're showing a budget of $9 million with a close to $1 million contingency. So that's always good to have starting out. You know, you never know how things are going to end up in the end. So it's nice to have $1 million if we can maybe address some things that come up. So that's where we're at with the funding, and move into the path design alternatives. So I gave you all copies of what I'm going to show you here. And sometimes it's kind of hard to flip back and forth, and I can't flip back and forth in here, so you can look what you have there. And there's a lot to absorb here, and I'm not sure if you guys have seen these alternatives yet.
I'll just check, Brandon. They had the exhibits in their packet as well. So if you know, you can just refer to your packets if you need to.
Perfect. So I guess to start off with, so here's the first style. And so there's 2 primary, well, I'm going to hit what's common between the 2 alternatives to start out with. So basically they both have a 12-foot wide shared use path. They're both going to have that suspended undercrossing underneath Commercial Street. There's going to be overlook opportunities for some type of area where people can rest and kind of look out at Pringle Creek Path. There's going to be that shelter I described earlier underneath the railroad. There's a ramp connecting kind of to the northwest quadrant of this bridge. It's a long ramp. There's quite a bit of elevation difference. So there'll be a long ramp all the way down and then come back. And so there, at the face of that thing has there's a lot of wall face. So there'll be opportunities for some wall treatment and some artwork potentially. There'll be seating walls throughout.
Yeah, if you don't want to, huh? You want me to? Okay.
I don't know where that's coming from.
Sorry, I apologize. Sorry, Brian.
Yeah, pathway lighting is common between the 2 of them, and landscape. There'll be some sort of landscaping throughout. So that's the commonality between them. The 2 primary differences between these 2, and you note there the angular style alternative. So it's more of like an architectural style. It's more of a linear type style. It has, in this case, this one has an overlook that's closer to the bridge. And you'll see on the other alternative, it's more of a central location. And the other one is a circular style, which matches the park a little bit more closely. The angular style matches more of what the civic center is like. So those are the two big pieces is location of the overlooks and the architectural style. That's kind of the primary differences. And so as you're looking through these, you know, if you think that you like one overlook location better than the other, we're still at the point where we can move things around. I mean, potentially we could come up with some design where an overlook is at the center rather than up here at the right. So just keep that in mind as you're looking through these. I mean, this is, like I said, we're looking for feedback. You know, and we're at that point where we try to incorporate some changes or things like that. So next slide here is that same design. It just gives you that 3D perspective. Gives you a little bit better idea what that overlook would look like. It's kind of a two-tier system there. There's a little bit of a area here where folks could stop and look, some seating wall opportunities. So, and then there's also west of the bridge, you can kind of see an overlook that goes out to Pringle Path or Pringle Creek on that side, which is common between both the different alternatives. If you want to, you can hit the next one. So like I noted that, you know, the curvy style, and it has that overlook in the center. So, you know, the architectural flair is the big difference. Primary features are the same. And there you have a view there.
Brian, is it correct that the structure that protects you as you go under the railroad track's a little different in the two?
Yeah, we haven't totally ironed out what that's gonna look like yet. The general concept will be if we go with a circular style, it'll be some arch type structure, you know, trying to match with what the general style is. If we go with the angular style, it'll be more of a traditional kind of box looking structure of some kind. And so when we send the survey out here in the next couple of weeks, and I'll make sure that all of you guys are notified. You'll be able to comment through a survey, you know, which overlook locations you prefer, you know, which style you prefer. And also there's a list of features that you can rank and what's most important to you. So for instance, just going through a quick list here, you know, is path style interesting to you, important to you, scenic overlooks, places to rest, art features. We have an opportunity for some art features there. Lighting, security lighting, decorative, landscaping, signage, stream bait, habitat, or anything else that seems interesting to you also. So I also handed out a fact sheet, a project fact sheet. There's a QR code on there. And if you use that QR code, it'll take you straight to our project website. We're going to try to keep that updated if that's where you can access the survey. You know, I'll be sending out a notification to some primary groups, including this meeting, when that's available online, so we can go through it. You can go through the survey and do it. You can provide comments here, and you can also contact me directly in that fact sheet. There's my email address is there, so if you have input, I'm keeping a comment log going, and we're going to try to take all that information that you're going to take into account when we come up with the preferred design.
Do both alternatives cost about the same?
Sure. Yep. They're I think there's maybe $300,000 difference, but that estimate that I gave you was for the more expensive one. So if you go with the other one, and I'm trying to remember, I think
Yeah, you're gonna reach out with a survey. This is not a residential area per se. So the survey, you're gonna reach out to who?
so the plan is I'm doing some small group outreach now. You guys were one of the primary groups that we organized for, but neighborhood associations are on that list. There's a development that's going to be happening just to the north. We're going to get them involved. There's the downtown business groups. There's I think there's 2 neighborhood associations that will be free.
And there's a big condo across the creek there. Yeah,
Yeah.
south something, whatever it is.
Yeah, so we're gonna be sending, at least in that area where there's residents, where, you know, that have addresses, we're gonna be sending a project notification letter out to them with the same information, with the fact, I'm gonna include a fact sheet in there and some information about when that survey is available.
because this project is of a citywide interest, I imagine our communication team is gonna put it in our Friday newsletter that goes out to about 7,000 or more residents. It's probably the kind of thing that will go on the city social media accounts. Brian and I could coordinate it. Potentially we can go out to our park planning email list. So when the time comes, he'll have Brian will have support getting that out to the community.
Brian, I would like to thank you for the presentation. It's very informative and welcome. Well done. I lean towards project alternate 2 myself. I just like the curves, and it seems, I like the idea of a overlook in the middle of the bridges rather than right underneath one. Another question I have, like, out of curiosity, is that item number 8 on the diagram indicates a potential future pedestrian bridge on the west side of the railroad.
Yeah,
What's the future of that?
as far as this project goes,
Not on this project,
Yeah,
but down the road, what do you anticipate?
You wanna kick that to me?
yes. I don't know.
This is that future crossing is identified in the Riverfront Park Master Plan. And the city now owns the property on the other bank there. It is another expensive project that we haven't programmed into our CIP because we don't have a funding source for it. So it is I think it would be proposed, it'll probably be more proposed when it's reinforced in the TSP. So it's not actually in the TSP yet. Maybe it is, but it's an idea that's in our planning documents. I think it's going to be reinforced in our planning documents as time goes on. And I think we'll be looking how is it going to play into the funding scenarios as we go forward.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Comments? All right, well, thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
And
Yeah, appreciate it.
looking forward to this becoming a reality.
You're here.
Yes. And by the way, I prefer the second one also.
You like hearing that? That's.
What it's worth. Okay, Rob, you're up. Riverfront Park improvements.
Good, thank you. I'm excited to provide this update. I have another set of slides, but they're mostly graphics. And so I'm gonna just go into it. And again, if I didn't introduce myself before, I'm Rob Romnek. I'm the city's parks planning manager. Let's just start off here. Here's what we have. We have a playground with playground equipment that has had a useful life. It is at the end of that useful life, and we are preparing to replace it with this. So here's a concept of, this is the final design concept. You may have seen an earlier version of this graphic, but I'm going to run through a whole set of figures that show the actual concept that we are constructing. And so, like, for example, that piece of playground equipment has arrived, is sitting in our shop across the streets waiting to be installed. So this is what we are building. Here's just an overview shot where you can see the existing parking lot, you can see the existing restroom building, this is the picnic shelter that we met at during our tour. And then this is approximately where the current playground is located. We'll be replacing all of that and expanding a little bit to the north, interrupting this existing park path with by expanding it, creating these defined entries to the playground and a fenced area. The fencing is and defined entries is one of the accessibility components, one of the concepts of our inclusive playground. And then you just get a sense there. We have a main structure. We have some other play equipment around. Gonna keep going. I will not go over every item, but I can pull this up if there are questions. We can talk about what things are. Here's a labeled design of all the items. Here's just an overview where maybe we can see some of I'll talk about some more details. So the surfacing, for one, is that artificial turf for playgrounds. It's also what we're going to be installing at the Cricket House at Bush's Pasture Park. We're using patterns to mimic kind of a watershed, a flow of the river through the playground. as well as an orientation route, another universal design component to kind of orientate users, children to where they can travel to find other things to do in the playground. We also have a paved ramp that goes up and gets you to the second level of the playground structure, which is a 3-story playground structure, but this will get you to the second level through our outreach, some of our targeted outreach to families that have members who have trouble using our current parks because of accessibility issues. They told us, wheelchair users specifically, so children in wheelchairs, that it's really important that they have adequate space to maneuver on platforms. So this is a custom structure with an extra wide, far wider than ADA requires platform, so there's enough room for 2 wheelchair users to potentially navigate across each other, or to have children playing and a wheelchair user up there at the same time. Go in here. Here's just a shot of that 3-story structure. You do have to climb to get to the 3rd story, and then that gets you a reward of a nice long slide down. We have several other slides, a lot of activities this concept doesn't really show all the little components that are going to be underneath that's going to be available for children to, interactive panels and things like that. So there's some of that doesn't really come through on this concept, but that is the custom structure that's being built and will be delivered to the city soon. Here's the young children area, or the tot zone. We have some more imaginative play elements here, and equipment really designed for younger children. We have a kind of a quiet, lower sensory zone. We call it the Eagle's Nest back here. We have this thing we're calling the Beaver Dam, which is made of actual wood. The wood has arrived. It's sitting in our yard. I'm really excited. It's like real when stuff starts to arrive. We have some freestanding pieces of equipment that are more accessible than other equipment in our playground. So a wheelchair user can roll right onto this merry-go-round thing. We have more swings than we have now, more variety of swings. So we're going to increase from 2 belt swings to 3 belt swings. We're going to keep 2 bucket swings, but we're going to have an accessible swing as well as a multi-user disc swing. So we're going to have lots more swings. And we're going to have the rock scramble. So this is actual rocks that will be used to create an element to climb on. And then we have this, we call it like the bamboo forest, these poles that stick out of the ground that you can kind of climb on and play around on as well. We are interrupting a major path through the park. And so we're creating a bypass. So there's a new path being created. I don't have fancy artwork for the rest of it, but I'm still going to go over the rest of the project. So here's the southern tip of the carousel building. And this is our new path going across the southern part of the meadow, the south part of the South Meadow. You can see it's just going to connect to the waterfront path over here. You can see the north tip of our playground here. The bigger circles with E's in them are existing trees, but we are going to plant some additional trees in between the kind of future picnic area is what I want you to imagine. And then we're going to have lighting and some benches on that new path. And now I'm going to talk to you about a very, from a project budget perspective, a very significant component of the project that is a little bit less interesting perhaps, but if it is interesting to you, it's very interesting to you. We're updating the electrical system in the park. The older part of the park has a failing electrical system that's needed to support all the events we have there. And so you'll be running a lot of new conduit, and we'll be, so this is the original Riverfront Amphitheater. We're going to be improving the electrical system out there. And then there's that new path I just showed you. We're going to be adding new electrical distribution along it, and along the riverfront path. That then goes up and terminates right about the part you go down to the dock. And I should say all that stuff to the south, that's PGE. And then this north part of the park is Salem Electric. Why not have 2, right? So over here we have the same distribution system, but with Salem Electric. And we did identify an ad alternate, and we are able to afford it. But so that we'll be taking those improvements past the brand new north plate restroom and into what we call the North Meadow. So also getting some systems up there. What you will see when we are done Instead of having underground vaults that flood with water and electricity do not mix. So instead of having underground vaults that are very hard to access, we're gonna have these 2-foot high electric distribution pedestals in the park. And so that's what you can expect to see. And so we have some high voltage outlets, we have some, typical outlets over by the Riverfront Amphitheater. You're gonna have a lot more of those high voltage amps, outlets to support all the speakers, right? So we're getting the park ready to go for all the events that you wanna support. So that's just the flag that's something you're gonna see out there. This project has gone out to public bid. Bid has closed, we've had bid opening, we had a good, we had 5 bids, we're pretty happy with that. This is the bid register, I'm gonna go over some important things to highlight. One is this is what we thought the construction contract was gonna cost, right? About $3 million. And then you can actually see what the bids are here. And so the apparent low bidder, which is Dolke Construction, is about $600,000 lower than we estimated. That's good news. So that's us taking advantage of some competition in the market and perhaps some reduced construction costs out there in the world. So we're really happy about that. We're now in the process of executing the construction contract. And this is my schedule update. So we're in that process. It'll probably be a couple more weeks until we have the contract in place. And toward the end of the month, we'll have what's called the pre-construction conference with the contractor. We'll sit down, we'll go over their schedule, and then they will get their notice to proceed. So I think in early April, that's what's slating out at this time, is when the fence is gonna go up around the playground, and we're gonna remove the equipment, and we're gonna start constructing the improvements. And I have a slide about construction impacts, so I'm gonna just cover that, but yes.
About the contract, what's the contract say about cost overrun?
So we have documented the project, and they have given us a price to build the project. And so if it's a whoops, we forgot or have bad documents, that's a change order, we pay more.
Right.
If it's beyond that, they have to deliver the project for that price. That's what the agreement is. That's the deal.
Okay,
That's in a simple way, that's what it is.
all right, thank you.
And this will all be, on this timeline, it will all be done by fall.
Yes, so we're hoping by midsummer still, so yes.
Summer.
This
Yeah.
summer?
Yes.
Good.
Again, so this is a little bit about construction impacts, just to close out the discussion. I tried to put a red line, it's really hard to see, so I put a little orange line around the temporary construction fencing, so you get an idea what to expect. So it's gonna wrap around the picnic shelter, it's gonna enclose some of the parking. That parking is not ADA stalls, but it is gonna be used as the contractor's staging area. This is gonna be their construction access for approximately right here. And you'll see we'll be closing off a big chunk of the park, so it's unfortunately there'll be some temporary impacts as we.
Carousel will still be open?
The carousel will still be open, though there's still a route to get to the carousel. It's hard to see in this, but there's a safe route. You have to cross the parking lot unfortunately twice, but for temporarily there'll be a detour for pedestrian access. That's my last slide on that one. Any questions? I can pull it back up. But just wanted to keep you updated on that.
All right.
Will any of this be impacted by the bridge construction?
Yeah, great question. This is brand new news, so it didn't make it in the division report. We were officially emailed by ODOT yesterday. They have 2 notable delays on their project. The issues they're having, one is it has to do with final approval from the Oregon Transportation Commission for funding. Just a meeting got delayed, unfortunately. And then they also are having issues with a permit they need from the US Coast Guard. And that is being affected by 2 government shutdowns, federal government shutdowns in the past several months. And those 2 factors have caused them to move their bid date back, and there will be no impacts to either parks this summer.
Okay.
That's the update
All
Wow.
right.
So
Thank
it's
you,
a no
Rob.
construction. You mean this
this
summer?
year, yes.
Okay.
One small question, you said the current equipment hit useful life expectancy. What is that, like 10 years, 20 years? How long does that equipment last
Yes,
for?
is it 23 years? How old is it? It was, the playground equipment was installed in 1997. So that gives you a sense of how old it is. Cool. it's had a good life.
Yeah.
But 20 years is what we'd expect, 20 to 25 years.
I think I'm a little too old to take advantage of those things.
Okay. Rob,
Yes,
I had a question. You know,
yes.
I'm really committed to and interested in any kind of low impact kinds of things we can have for elderly people, including myself. When we take our grandkids, we like to be active too. So do we have anything that like that involved in the planning for the playground equipment?
Yes, there was an attempt to make the playground equipment, well, so we want the park to be, the facility to be comfortable for everyone.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to reshare, to maybe highlight some of those things. Hold on a second. And if I was not sharing my screen before, I do apologize to your note.
Yeah, that's all right.
Hopefully you can see it now.
Uh-huh.
So maybe one of the overviews. So we're gonna have some platform seating in the playground that's actually not shown in this concept. So there's gonna be some spots to sit in the playground. There's also a seat wall right here, and we're adding a lot more benches around the perimeter than there are there today. So comfortable seating is one aspect of it, but we also have spent time really thinking about this intergenerational play and
Yes,
this
thank
idea of
you.
inclusiveness. So, there's nothing in this playground that an adult can't use. If an adult wants to get on any of this playground equipment, that would be completely within what its design parameters are. The idea is that a grandmother can play with their children, or, yeah, and I should, yeah, I went kind of through pretty quickly. I should say there's some other elements too, like, let's see, here we go. There's some musical instruments at the entryway here.
Uh-huh.
Again, anyone can use them, right?
Yeah.
We're trying to get people to play together. That's social connection. Your age is
Uh-huh.
more relevant. I will
Yeah.
say though, the main play structure and that other structure, they are designed generally for a certain age group. So these main structures have a
Right.
focused age group, but generally the playground itself is really anyone. I'm gonna take my son there and play on some of that equipment. I can tell you that.
Yeah, good for you. You definitely should. Well, I was just thinking if we could add some other elements to that that would accommodate specific activities like the gliders. There's all kinds of things. You know, you go to parks around the world and you see, especially in China, where people are very active and the grandparents are just as active, but they're doing their particular playground equipment that's built for them and safe. And there are many, many things. I mean, you can look on Pinterest or anywhere. I've been looking to see there are many, many good things. So instead of a bench or maybe alongside a bench, it would be nice to have some of those things.
Yeah,
So,
that's a great point. We are exploring adult exercise equipment
uh-huh.
in other parks as part of the concept for it. The thing is once you get to adult exercise equipment, it is not designed for children to use. So we have to be careful. And so in this project, we didn't go there, but in some of our other parks, we definitely have concepts of adding a kind of discreetly separate from the playground, an adult area with that kind of equipment you're describing, which today the standards have changed and now they need to be treated much like a playground. You need safety servicing under that equipment, and other considerations. But so it's definitely on our radar. And some neighborhood parks are likely to see the first time we actually put that kind of equipment in.
Okay, very good to know. I would love to see at least some here, but I'll talk with you more about future projects. Thank you.
Got it.
Okay.
Nicely done.
Anything else from anybody? All right, now we go to our neighborhood association outreach. And you have copies of what we came up with?
I can pull it up on the screen. That works.
They could be great to have. Printed copies for people.
It was in the packet, and so we have some printed copies in the back.
Okay,
It's in the packet.
copies in the back. Okay, yeah, I just didn't pick up it either. Okay, now. We did some fine tuning of this and, just as a reminder, we divvied up the neighborhood association so that we can let them know the spiff opportunities, and just be kind of a liaison to our neighborhood, to reach out, to bring government right down to the people, so they don't think we're all a bunch of crooks, you know? We tweaked, we took your, what your preferences were. We tweaked them a little bit, and, if you, and another reminder, Rob can give you materials to take, and he can give you presentations to show, and, you know, it works really well. If you have a problem and would like to switch with somebody, and that, you know, if that works out between two people, you want to switch your neighborhood association, just go ahead and then let Rob know about it. Okay? So we have an accurate, we have the accuracy of who's where. Now when should these,
I'd be happy to say that.
yeah,
So I would suggest that you can go ahead and start scheduling your outreach with the neighborhood association chairs at this point. Every neighborhood association has a page on the city's website, and that page includes their contact information, their email address. So I would suggest you start there. So, and it also includes every park in their neighborhood.
Yeah.
So if you want to go to, you know, if, for example, Can Do, if you just Googled Can Do in Salem, you would find that page very quickly. And then you can find their email address, and that's how you contact the chair. You ask to be on the agenda. That's exactly how staff does it. Raymond back here did that last week, you know, so you say, hey, I'd like to come, I'd like to be on an agenda, what agenda would work, and you'll work with them to get scheduled.
okay. All right, and there are copies of this back at the table, is there?
Yes, there's actually copies at the table, hopefully there's still some, and then it was in your packet. Yep.
Okay, yeah, I didn't see it in anything emailed to me. Okay, any questions on this at all? We try to accommodate everything. For example, Fraser goes to the Sunny Slope Association, so he should probably be the one that did that. I had that down as one of my preferences, but we made sure that Fraser got it, and I switched to another one. So there was some tweaking that we did. And if you would rather do a little bit more tweaking, then if you find somebody to tweak with you, go for it and let us know. Okay? Yeah, Delight, you got West Salem, even though Alan lives there. So it's always a give and take. This is better than it was when I first got on this board, and over half of this board was West Salem people. So, so it's a lot better now than it was. I'm glad there are other people in South Salem that are on the board now. So we can fight over the associations. Any questions, problems, concerns on that at all? Okay. Where are we?
Liaison update?
Maybe board member updates, and then we'll go back.
What?
Maybe we start with board member updates.
Yeah, board member updates, Councilor Varney has stepped out for a second. Any board member updates? Alan?
I can briefly comment. I've been really getting to Brush College Park almost every day. And I'm seeing a drainage issue that's long existed, but I don't know if it can be addressed. It has to do with a hole in the lawn that drainage just caved in, and I'll talk to some maintenance people about it. The eagles are nesting in Riverfront Park or across the river from Riverfront Park, and it's really neat to see that happening. So people are watching and attendance being done. I've been keeping an eye on what's being done in the parks generally, and I'm really impressed and pleased with the work being done. It's maintained well. No other comment.
All right, anybody else with any updates or concerns? Okay,
Question, since Ricky's still not back, large Douglas fir tree fell over in Inglewood Park during like a windstorm a while ago. Don't know if you know, I was just curious, do we know what they did with the Doug fir? Cause it was gone. Did they cut it up and cart it off or turn it?
We can follow up with you.
Okay, it's not like a big deal. If you didn't have the answer off the top of your head, it was just more like, well, if you're gonna open up the floor, maybe I'll ask the question.
I could just broadly answer that, if when there's wood that, a common thing that urban forestry does when they have large diameter wood they can't chip is that they bring it to Marion County juvenile, and they can make firewood out of it, but they also have some woodworking capabilities. They make products. So like an oak table or an oak tree that fell in bush during the ice storm is now a table out in the lobby here.
Okay, cool. That's kind of what I was wondering, because I know at Fresh Start, they've got all their work and their private stuff there. Okay, cool.
it's kind of a common thing when you have a big ice storm, as I can relate on my street, which has 13 50-year-old oak trees on it. That all of a sudden there are a plethora of people with chainsaws that show up. And thanks to them, I mean, I don't know how legal it was for them to haul out cords and cords of oak, nice oak wood. But thanks to them, we're not on a major street, so we would have to wait for the city to do stuff. It took them a day and for us to be able to have one lane down the middle of the street and for everybody to get out of their driveway. So I don't know the legality of people coming and hauling away firewood, but I'm sure glad they did in this case. You know. Okay?
That was happening all over the city.
Oh, yeah, it's, well. So the property damage was surprisingly minimal. Okay, anything else? We can now go to Councilor Barney. Are you ready?
I don't really have anything to add.
Okay.
Today.
You saved 10 minutes, thank you.
Did you talk about the fabric, about?
It is in their division report and they received a direct email from me.
Okay, I
Yes.
didn't know if that was gonna be
Yeah.
something. Okay, okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
All right, any new business, anything? I think I see Delight raising her hand.
No.
Oh, no, you were just, okay. Any other new business, Alan?
I just should point out that after our last meeting, February 12th, I think it was the 12th, E.M. Easterly did send a letter to us about our discussion of the Wallace Marine Park natural areas, and it's in our packet, so
Yeah.
board members might want to look at that, just make sure they got what the West Salem people wanted to know about.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. Anything else?
Chair
for the good
Hartwick,
of the cause?
So
Yeah.
real quick on the division report, I want to throw in just a ranking update. So McCain Park project is now officially out to bid. I just wanted to share that. So that project has now gone out to public bid. We're hoping to get that started, hopefully July, May or June, we'll actually start construction out there.
Okay, and then the Fisher Road, we're looking for the new request for funds that, yeah,
Yeah, we'll have more to say about that in our next division report.
great, all right. All righty, unless there's anything else, we're getting out here record time today. Hour and 9 minutes, that's a first, all right. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank
all for
you.
your participation.
Very nice presentation.